Hello guys, welcome back to another election prediction video. This time we're doing the 2024 Republican primary for the month of January. I think we're going to be doing these predictions monthly because a lot can change in a primary election. It pretty much does change monthly, honestly. But let's get started with this one. So we're going to start off with the state of Iowa. It's the first state. It's an Iowa caucus in the Republican primary. The order of the first primary states is Iowa, New Hampshire, then South Carolina, then Nevada. Nevada goes last. So let's start off with Iowa. I think Trump will still be narrowly favored to win this state, but I could see DeSantis maybe winning this, especially if he comes out strong in the beginning. But I just think that Trump would try to be a lot more populist than Ron DeSantis here, and he'll probably narrowly win Iowa against him. But in New Hampshire, it's a different story. I think DeSantis is quite favored to win in New Hampshire, even by a likely margin, I would say, like an 8-point victory against Trump, just because Trump is just quite hated in New Hampshire. And honestly, I could see DeSantis getting all the moderate Republicans to vote for him here, plus some hesitant Trump supporters who want to win an election or just want to go with DeSantis because they think he's the better choice electorally to win in a showdown between Biden. So, state of South Carolina, I still think Trump would be narrowly favored to win this state, but again, DeSantis does have a really good shot here. But I just think that a lot of Trump diehards will never back away from him, and he'll still end up winning the state of South Carolina. But Nevada, I think DeSantis would be slightly favored here. I think it would be a bit closer than New Hampshire because Trump isn't as hated in Nevada as he is in New Hampshire, but I still don't think he would win the state against DeSantis. I think DeSantis will have the key constituency of Latinos on his side in the state of Nevada and swing voters. Okay, let's head on to Super Tuesday. Now we're going to start off with easiest state. Vermont. It's a very, very moderate state. They have pretty much a very moderate Republican as governor here, and Phil Scott, he'll probably end up endorsing Ron DeSantis, honestly, if it's him versus Trump, and it's just a two-candidate race. So I do think DeSantis would do it very well here, probably win it by over 10%, while Trump would win Massachusetts, and here's why. Even Charlie Baker was going to lose in a primary election against a far-right candidate that Trump endorsed. So Jeff Deal, I mean, Trump does have a lot of influence in the state of Massachusetts, so it really just seems to be that there's not enough moderates in the state of Massachusetts in the Republican Party to sway the election to Ron DeSantis. I think there's a lot of Trump loyalists there in that state, and I think he would narrowly carry it, but it'd be very close. But the fact that Charlie Baker could win a primary here doesn't signal well for Ron DeSantis. DeSantis, however, would be favored to win in Maine. I do think Maine has a bit of a moderate side to it. They did elect Susan Collins, and she did win her primary here. So I do think DeSantis will be able to win this state narrowly. In Georgia, this state DeSantis would do extremely well in. Brian Kemp, who Trump endorsed in the gubernatorial primary in 2022, David Perdue he endorsed against Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp defeated David Perdue by about 40 to 50 points around there. But honestly, the Trump endorsee here, he did terrible. He didn't do well at all, and polling comes out of Georgia. It shows DeSantis ahead of Trump by about 20. Some polls showed it by about 10. So honestly, Georgia's a very safe state for DeSantis. I don't think Trump's going to be able to win in Georgia at all against DeSantis. I think he has this state on lock. Virginia's the next one. I think it'll be about a likely margin. I do see Youngkin probably endorsing DeSantis against Trump in this state. So that's my reasoning for it. Plus, it is a bit more moderate than these other states. Alabama, it's pretty much a lock for Trump. Same with Arkansas and Oklahoma. And Tennessee, even there was a poll that showed DeSantis ahead here, I kind of doubt it. I still think Trump has a solid base in Tennessee, but it's definitely diminished. So he only win it by a lean margin. Okay, in Minnesota, again, Minnesota really doesn't like Trump either. In the 2016 Republican primary, it voted against him, and he didn't even perform that well there in the 2020 election. So honestly, yeah, Trump got third place in Minnesota, from my memory, in 2016. So honestly, I think DeSantis has this state. Same with Utah and Colorado. Utah, there's a lot of Mormons here. In Colorado, a lot more moderate Republicans, so it's pretty much a lock for DeSantis here. And now we're down to two very important states, Texas and California. And honestly, this is make or break for DeSantis. I think he has to win both these states. Maybe he could afford a big win in California with a small loss in Texas. But I still think if he wants to really beat Trump and he wins these two states, he's the front runner. And right now, I do think DeSantis is a little bit more favored to win California than Texas. I think California wins by about 4, while in Texas, he barely wins. It's under 1%. I think this state will go down to the wire here. They'll probably split the delegates about even in both these states, but I think DeSantis slightly gets a slight lead in both of them, basically. Okay, so we're going to be heading to the next few states. Oh, I forgot North Carolina. That would also probably be on Super Tuesday. And honestly, I think DeSantis is slightly favored to win here as well by a tilt margin. Trump could win the state, but just because of DeSantis' Sun Belt advantage in this region here, I think you'd be slightly favored to win it against Trump just with moderate Republicans. But Trump could win it. Again, just same reasoning with Texas. He could win both of them. But so far, I would give the advantage to DeSantis in both these states because as he gets name recognition, he's going to keep increasing in these polls because they see them as the only legit challenger to Donald Trump. Okay. Next few states. Mississippi and Missouri. I just think these states are really going to definitely back Trump. Trump has a lot of strong base in both of these states. Michigan, again, just because Trump's slightly more populist than DeSantis, or not slightly, he just is. I think he's still favored to win in Michigan. North Dakota has a weird primary process in the Republican primary. In 2016, it's just the delegates that vote here. So party elites, basically. So again, I think party elites are going to go with DeSantis here, mainly because they see him as a safer option than Trump. In Idaho, the Mormons are probably definitely going to back DeSantis here. Ted Cruz performed very well here in the 2016 Republican primary, so I see that carrying over to DeSantis. And DeSantis gets a narrow victory in Washington due to more moderate Republicans. All right, the next few primaries. Florida, DeSantis easily wins it by over 10, while Trump will easily win Ohio by a likely margin. Illinois by a lean margin. Definitely be more of a swing state here in the primary. While DeSantis wins Arizona, he just edges out Trump here because I do think some moderate Republicans would vote for him in this state, but it would be quite close. Trump would have a chance at winning here, but I think DeSantis has the momentum. Okay, in the next few states. So Kentucky and Louisiana, Trump would be very favored in Kentucky. Same with Louisiana as well. In Wyoming, I could see this as a closer state. It's kind of weird how they do the caucuses here in Wyoming. So I think DeSantis will be slightly favored here. I mean, you look at the 2016 Republican primary here in Wyoming, and it was like a very, very low turnout. So honestly, it could be just party elites to show up here to vote, and I think they would be more enthusiastic about a caucus. So I think DeSantis would have a slight advantage here just because of the low turnout of a caucus. If it was a primary, Trump would probably win the state by a lean margin. But just because it's a caucus, I think DeSantis is slightly favored. All right, in Nebraska and Kansas. Nebraska, I think, is more solid than Kansas, just because I think Kansas is a more moderate state. In Alaska and Hawaii, I think DeSantis would sweep both of them. Alaska, but more so because of Murkowski's endorsement, which you'd probably get in this scenario. Oh yeah, in the District of Columbia, I think DeSantis is very favored, while all the territories, I think, mainly go towards Trump, except for Puerto Rico, which I think will narrowly go to DeSantis. The territories, the way they work is, usually it's lopsided in favor of either candidate, so Trump would probably sweep all of them by like 20 to 30 points, while Puerto Rico is the only territory that has a lot of people, so that's why that primary is a lot closer. Okay. So in the remaining primary states, in Wisconsin, I think Trump will be slightly favored here. However, DeSantis with the momentum, he could win the state. All right, in the next few states, New York, he has the state on lock. Pennsylvania would be decently close. Delaware, I think, would just go towards Trump, while DeSantis would win Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Maryland. Maryland had a very close primary between a Trump endorsee and Hogan's endorsee, so it was decently close, but I think DeSantis could narrowly beat Trump here. He would get all the Hogan supporters who voted in the primary, and he may get some defections from the Trump camp. I could see that occurring as well because DeSantis isn't as moderate as Hogan is, so maybe through that ideological breakdown, he could get some of them to his side. Okay, and then last few states here. New Jersey, I still think would go somewhat towards Trump, but it would be definitely be a close state. DeSantis would definitely target it. West Virginia and Indiana are just off the board for DeSantis. I don't think you could win these states. It's kind of Trump's bread and butter, these two states, especially West Virginia, coal country. They really like Trump. And Indiana, again, it's a very ruby red state, very right wing, so I think Trump would have it. South Dakota and Montana. Not sure if DeSantis would have the moderate or no rural appeal to win both these states, so I think they would go towards Trump. Well, New Mexico would end up going towards DeSantis, and so would Oregon. So, delegate wise, it shows Trump winning on this map. However, if I were to do a breakdown, I think DeSantis would narrowly edge out Trump in this primary. Specifically, DeSantis did, I think, win more winner-take-all states like Florida and Georgia. Would probably net all the delegates there. Wisconsin, it would definitely be very, very close. California, he did get a decent margin out of there. Texas, they would probably split the delegates about even. In Pennsylvania and Michigan, I'm pretty sure the way these delegates work is by county, so we could see like a delegate breakdown somewhat like this. And each of them would be Trump wouldn't get all the delegates here, but it'd be something like that. And I think DeSantis would slightly win here against Trump just because of that delegate breakdown. So that's my prediction. DeSantis would beat Trump as of right now in the Republican primary. I'll see you guys in the next one.